Let's make a larger mini vase with feet with the Emiko big hole mandrel. This happens to be a 1-inch diameter mandrel. Doesn't seem that big, but it's a good size for a bead maker. I'm just heating up the mandrel really good, including the end where the glass is going to go first. Trying to get it to glow a little red. Getting a gather of glass, and I'm just going to apply it to the end of the mandrel. Just going to gather as much glass as I see that I need in the center of the end of the mandrel, trying to pull it out toward the edge, but sometimes it's just easier to use your marver to flatten it and push it out. Now you have more of a glass edge to add the glass to. I have the dial on the Electric Mandrel Spinner turned all the way up to give me the most torque that it can deliver. With a mandrel this size, you need as much torque as possible because you're pulling a lot of glass. Adding more glass onto the existing glass on the mandrel. Holding the rod in the flame against the existing glass, trying to smooth it out and make it even going all the way around. The more you actually do this and keep it as even as possible, the better it'll be all the way down the line. Just taking your time and making sure that edge is as smooth and straight as possible now will keep you from having to deal with a big old wobble as you go up the length of the mandrel. Just continuing to add glass, and I've got quite a bit of a ways to go, so I'm going to speed the video up so we can get through it a little bit faster. Continuing to add glass on top of the existing glass on the mandrel, forming a nice donut basically, and then using the marver to push it all over and push it up the mandrel. Using the rolling marver to help push the glass up. Working so much hotter than you normally would without the Electric Mandrel Spinner. Adding the glass and holding the rod in the flame a bit longer, dragging the glass around until it's smooth and the edge is straight, and then you marver it. Makes it so much easier to get that straight edge when you're working much hotter. Now I am pushing the glass up with the rolling marver and forming more of a pucker on the inside of the glass so that it has a nice edge inside as it does on the outside. Now I'm adding a rim, so I'm not going to melt it in. I'm not going to push it over with the marver. I'm just going to continue to add and drag it around to try to make it straight. I can use the marver underneath the rim to help form that lip. And just building it up till I'm happy with where it is. Using the marver right under that edge. And I think I'm happy with that lip. Next I'm going to use some silvered ivory stringer to do some simple scroll work around the circumference of the vase. Turning down the speed because I don't need it as fast anymore. I don't need that torque just to do scroll work. It makes it a little bit more manageable. Getting everything warm, keeping it warm. Turning down the torch just a little bit to help with the scroll work. Trying to decide which stringer I'm going to use. That one. And laying down some stringer. Silver ivory stringer is a bit brittle and it breaks very easily, so you got to be careful. Broke it right there. Now I'm just going to cut it off with the flame and continue on with another stringer. Using a little palette knife to come in to that curve and arrange it in a little better shape. That's why I don't melt the stringer in completely until I am done laying it all out. This stringer is not going to be melted completely down anyway. It's going to be raised a little bit so that it has some texture. There, I broke the stringer again, so we're just going to finish the job and continue on. Now I come in with a stringer tool that matches the background glass, and I'm just going to do little spirals at the end of each scroll. I'm going to do that all the way around. You've seen this before. Making sure you're keeping everything warm as you go. And then I just stop and hit the curve with the flame and do the little spiral with the stringer tool. Just going around and finding each place that I need to spiral. Done with the spirals, so now we're just going to add some dots. Finishing up the dots and going around and melting everything down just a bit. They need to be melted in at least halfway, and I'm going to go a little bit more than that, leaving them slightly raised for texture. Taking the same colored rod as the vase, I'm going to add 3 feet. Trying to space them correctly. Don't quite get it right. It's hard at that angle. But 3 legs or 3 feet, no matter how long they are and how uneven they are, will still stand without wobbling. So I'm just building them up just a little bit until they're even and the size that I'm looking for. Make sure to keep everything warm. Using the marver to flatten the feet just a little bit, not completely, but giving them just a nice flat bottom. And I happen to do that out of the frame, sorry about that. Nothing fancy. Making sure everything is warm. And there you go.